all in these virtual rooms, and very grateful that we are remain healthy and during what appears to be a long pandemic. First of all, we would like to say thank you to our colleagues that are present and support our event today. And let us convey our gratitude to our rector, Professor Fasli Jalan, Rector of Universitas Yarsi. Thank you, Prof. Fasli, for your presence and for your always supporting us in our programs. Also, we would like to say thank you to our Dean, Dr. Umi Aziza Rahmawati, Eskom MCom, the Dean of Faculty of Information Technology, Universitas Yarsi. Thank you, Dr. Umi, to keep supporting us. And secondly, we want to say thank you to our Pragma members, represented by Jason Haga from National Institute of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology, Japan, and Prapapon Ratana Tamrong from Thammasat University, Thailand, and Wasapon Watanaki Suntron from Nara Institute of Science and Technology, Japan. Thank you all for your help and guidance so far in preparing this event. We also thanks to our keynote speaker today, Peter Asperger, PhD, founding and former chair of Pragma community from University of California, San Diego, USA. Thank you, Peter, for present today. And Prof. Heru Suhartanto, Pragma member from Department of Computer Science, Universitas Indonesia. Thank you, Prof. Heru, for your presence today. And before we start, let me give a brief introduction to Pragma Student Workshop 2021. The Pragma Student Workshop 2021, which will be hosted by Universitas Yarsi, will provide students with the opportunity to discuss and share their own research project with their peers. Aside from that, the workshop will include discussions that are relevant to the students and will include experts from Pragma community as their mentors. This event will be held in 2 days, 9 to 10 December 2021, contains 3 main sections which are keynotes, workshop, and student presentation session. The keynote session involves invited experts from Pragma community who will discuss the current issues, technologies, application, and future directions that are related to machine learning and artificial intelligence. And the workshop session consists of series of workshop designed to develop students' soft and technical abilities in the areas of research and technology. At the end, some selected students will share their research project and the student presentation session. And now let me describe today's agenda. First, we will have a greeting speech for our Dean of Faculty of Information Technology, Dr. Umi Aziza Rahmawati, Eskom MCom. And next, we will have an opening and welcoming speech from our Rector Universitas Yarsi, Professor Dr. Fasli Jalal, PhD. And then we will have a keynote session. The session will be led by Dr. Sri Kusri. She will be the moderator of the keynote speaker session. And finally, we will have 4 workshop series. The first workshop will talk about the Scalable Amplified Group Environment, or SEG2, delivered by Jason Haga. The second workshop will talk about the data visualization with Python and Google Colab, delivered by Muhammad Fatur Rahman. And the third workshop will talk about the research presentation technique, delivered by Kohei Ichikawa. And lastly, we have a workshop talk about the practical machine learning, delivered by Chandra Prasetyo Utomo. The first two workshops will run in parallel. After that, there is a short break, and we will continue to the third workshops and the fourth workshops. Okay, now we will move to the first agenda. I would like to invite Dean of Faculty of Information Technology, Dr. Umi Aziza Rahmawati, Eskom MCom, to give greeting speech. Dr. Umi, the time is yours.
Thank you. Terima kasih Pak Fatur. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good morning everyone and good evening, Peter. We have a different time zone, but thank you that Peter still managed to attend our invitation. Thank you very much for Pragma community for helping us. We know Pragma from Prof. Heru. Prof. Heru, when I was a student, always introduced us to international community. Thank you, Prof. And it's been already about 10 years. We know about Pragma, and it is the first time for ERC University to host a Pragma student workshop. It's part of our program. It's called Free Campus. Indonesia have a program called Free Campus that funded by our government, and Free Campus give an opportunity to our students to learn everywhere, every time, and the department will convert the credit to our campus. So it's big opportunities for us and for our students. And thank you very much, Prof. Fasli, for always supporting us. Thank you very much, Peter, that always inviting us in every Pragma workshop. Thank you, Prof. Heru. Thank you, Jason, that always helping us from proposal moment. And thank you, Nan. Thank you, Ichikawa-san. Thank you, Boom. And in this student workshop, not only for ERC students, we also have a participant from Universitas Nusa Mandiri, Universitas Tanri Abeng, IPB, IPB, Universitas Komputer Indonesia, Universitas Pendidikan Ganesha, Universitas Gajah Mada, IIUM Malaysia, Nara Institute of Science and Technology Japan, Universitas Sumatera Utara, and also from Universitas Brawijaya. Hopefully in the future we can manage or we can host a large number of students that can join a Pragma workshop, because in this pandemic situation, it's very necessary for us to always gain knowledge from expert from international. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Thank you, Pak Fatur. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, next we have opening and welcoming speech from Rector of Universitas Yarsi, Professor Dr. Fasli Jalal, PhD. Also, Professor Fasli will officially start the Pragma Student Workshop 2020 and 21. Professor Fasli, the time is yours.
Thank you, Pak Fatur. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and good evening for Pak Peter Azerberger, yeah, and ladies and gentlemen. Distinguished guests and speakers, we are honored to have you all in this very important student workshop with Pragma, because ERC University is having the support from the Ministry of Education and Culture, Research and Technology on developing several study programs, including information technology. And we aim for, we already established actually the Center for Artificial Intelligence, linking the artificial intelligence, especially for health, because we have 2 hospitals, one general hospital with 450 beds, receiving a lot of the COVID patient lately, more than 1,500. And we already analyzed a lot of data from the COVID patient. And we would like to also bring all of the information from ICU and all related data collection by hospital to be linked to our artificial intelligence, so then we can have a better diagnosis, better prediction, and also many simulation that can be used not only for patient concern, but also for education concern. Because of that, we would like to thank all of you to support us, and especially Professor Heru from Universitas Indonesia that helped us along the way, and also Pragma that we know from Bu Umi. Bu Umi mentioned many times about Pragma. I just learned Pragma, what is Pragma all about. And then, from this seminar, I can see how important the what's Pragma doing for Indonesia and especially for ERC University, because we have a very strong biomedical sciences. We have many, almost 40 PhDs lecturer in biomedicine, and then we would like to link the biomedical sciences and health profession by clinics and then public health. And in this regard, I think a lot of data collection, data management, data mining, and also the use of big data will be important. So in this regard, I think how important this seminar as this workshop for us and also for all participants attending this very important seminar. Thanks again for all of our distinguished guests and guest speakers and all friends facilitating the Bu Umis and other team in the Artificial Intelligence Center and also from Faculty of Information Technology. And welcome to everybody in the middle of your busy schedule. You are still wanting to show your growth mindset by always be part of the learning communities and also long life learner, which is a sign of the professional in this big era. Thank you. I would like to officially open this important Pragma student workshop. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Fasli, to officially open the Pragma Student Workshop 2021. And before we start to the next session, we have a photo session. I hope all the participants can open their camera, and our staff will help us to capture the photo. On the count of 3, our staff will help us to take the photo. So we hope that all the participants can open the camera. Okay.
We have many windows. We do not know which one we are.
Okay. Wait. Okay. We have about 4 pages, and I will count for the first page. I will count on 3, and we will take a photos. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay. For the next page. Oh. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay. The third page. 1, 2, 3. And the last one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Okay, now we are at the keynote stations. This session will be led by Dr. Sri Haryanti. Dr. Sri, the time is yours.
Thank you. Terima kasih, Arthur. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear and speakers, and good morning, Prof. Fasli. I'm very blessed that we can provide this Pragma Student Workshop this I'm very happy to see you all. Today we have 2 sessions of keynote. There are from Peter Arsberger and then from Prof. Heru. Please, the committee share the short bio of Peter first. Yeah, before we start, I want to share you a short bio of Peter. Many community, Pragma Pacific Rim Application and Grid Middleware Assembly, Leon Global Lake Ecological Observatory Network, Prime Pacific Rim Experience for undergraduate students. He served in several roles in the U.S. National Science Foundation. Throughout his professional career, he was worked at the interface of computing, biology, and mathematics. Starting in 2001, he created international collaborative research and training opportunities for students and with college. Currently, he is embarking on a new career as an author. I first meet Peter in 2017, I think, yeah, in Australia. That's the first time I joined a Pragma workshop, Pragma meeting, and at that time I feel very blessed, very homey with the Pragma community. So even we are in the international, join with international community, we are not scary, not afraid of being cannot speak English well or something like that. Okay, Peter, time is yours for 20 minutes.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And I will attempt to share my screen, if I may. And I just have to, I think this is the one. And if I can go over here. There, okay. I hope everyone can see that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, and it's in the right presentation mode. Great. So first, let me thank everyone, Umi and Shri for the invitation to present. It was really nice to see Umi again. She was right. We first met in 2013, I believe, when we had a mini workshop hosted by Haru, Professor Suartanto. And I'll talk a little bit about that later on. Her enthusiasm then has stayed with us now, which is really good for a tired person at the other end of the Pacific Ocean. So thank you very much for that and for the invitation. And Shri, thank you very much for the talking about some of my background. What I'd like to do today is two things. I was asked to talk about the origins of Pragma as one of the two activities, but I also, given the fact that this is a training workshop, I wanted to at least talk a little bit about some of the lessons that we learned along the way, and one that's very near and dear to my heart that hopefully will help augment the technical learning that will go on today with some of the other soft skills that I think are going to be very important for your future. And so those are my two goals: origin of Pragma and some lessons learned. Oftentimes when I end a talk on Pragma, I use this particular proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Because really, when we talk about Pragma, we're really talking about a community that has worked together now for nearly 20 years. That's a long, long time for a group of people working together. We didn't go alone. We went together on this. And so I want to begin to raise the question, so what does this mean, though, for students and for researchers? Both of these require technical skills, going fast or going far, but going together requires a certain set of other skills on top of the technical ones, and I'll talk a little bit about them. And today, the challenges that face our world require us to work together across disciplines, across countries, and it really is that going together that's going to take us a long, long way. So while I talk, maybe you all can think about what are some of those soft skills that you should try to hone yourself with. And to talk, just to reflect a little bit on what the rector said, learning never ends. And I think it's a very important concept to keep in mind, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, or 60, or 70, you always learn. And I think that's very, very important to do. So let me switch back now to the origins of Pragma, or actually pre-Pragma. When we started looking, and this is in 2001, when we started looking at some of the trends that were going on then, we noticed that there were trends from very large computers, supercomputers that were built uniquely for a problem. Then we moved into clusters of smaller machines being hooked, smaller units put together to make a big machine, then onto grid. This whole notion that you could consider a network of computers acting as one. There was a computer community that had also started to gel. Supercomputing had moved more into the academic realm by 2001, and something called the Global Grid Forum, which really talked about best practices of the grid, started its first meeting then. In science, there were a number of activities that just began. The Global Biodiversity Information Facility was set up in 2001. It followed after a group of long-term ecological research sites started to have international meetings to look again at questions of what we can learn globally about ecology. And of course, high energy physics and astronomy already had a long tradition of working together across these areas. And even the funding agencies, the National Science Foundation in the United States, really wanted to talk about more effective roles for NSF in international science and engineering. So what were our opportunities and vision? Well, as we know, there was a huge gap between the promise of grids and the reality. It's really hard to get distributed heterogeneous computers to work together. So the opportunity was to try to fill the gap between just talking about what was done at some meetings or talking about best practices in others, to actually doing experiments to try to make this work. And that was our vision for Pragma, to make this grid, this network of computers, usable by scientists, not just computer scientists, but by real scientists doing science, by sharing expertise and running these experiments. And so, but that's the vision. You need a plan to help you realize what that vision is. And this is where we started. We made a proposal to the National Science Foundation to create something called the Pacific Rim Application and Grid Middleware Assembly, which is Pragma. We focus on the Pacific Rim because one very particular articulate individual at NSF said, that's where your future are. I was in San Diego. The ocean that bound us together was the Pacific. He said, look at the Pacific Rim. And it was also easier to work in the Pacific Rim than it is in Europe. There's much more, if you will, has a lot more bureaucracy involved. We wanted to focus on applications and take advantages of investments made by other countries. This is the microscope that's in Osaka. That was very, very important to some of the researchers in the US. We also wanted to take advantage of the middleware that was being developed, one by AIST, to get grids or computers to work together. And finally, we talked about assembly, which is really the people part of what Pragma is about. So these elements were what we really were focusing on as we set up Pragma. But what was the plan? Be pragmatic, of course, but also we wanted not just a single workshop to kickstart this activity, but we had a notion of 3 workshops. One funded by the National Science Foundation, one funded by KIST in Korea, and one funded by AIST in Fukuoka. We already had these lined up even before we got the money from NSF to start this. And we wanted to do 2 things. Establish a community and sustain collaborations. And so that was sort of the origin of Pragma. We had 3 meetings from March 2002 to January 2003. But in addition to the meetings that talked about technical expertise, I mean, what did we do with these meetings? We talked about what we knew, what were the common areas of interest, who might be willing to work on different projects together. But in addition to the technical discussions that went on, we also took time out as a group to get out of our meeting rooms, go to the beach, get handmade flutes in Korea, or go to the experience of a bathhouse in Japan to actually build the people connections, which was very, very important. And from those series of 3 meetings, we had enough progress to have many, many more. In fact, over the course of the 20 years, we've had 37 meetings so far, involving more than 20 institutions in 10 countries. And we have a number of successes that we can point to. And I want to go through these, these 3 or these 5 different activities, if I may, quickly, to get back to the other points. One was, with a group of people from a variety of institutions, we're able to share resources. At one of the Pragma meetings in Beijing in 2013, someone suggested, gee, would it be possible to make an experimental network testbed where we can use virtualization to see how we could better move files across the Pacific Rim? This is a way that Pragma operates. People come with ideas, other people sign on to them, and we make a small little project out of that. And this became an expedition which was being led by ultimately Kohei Ichikawa, who's on this particular call and will be one of the lecturers later today. We had another example where in 2003 we had the idea of actually trying to put sensors in a lake in Taiwan and wirelessly move data back from those lakes to Wisconsin. People in Wisconsin were quite interested in knowing what happens to lakes during typhoons. No typhoons in Wisconsin, plenty of typhoons in Taiwan. And this collaboration actually evolved to part of the paper that you see in Biosciences right here. And we said, well, if we could do this for, one lake, what's stopping us from doing it for multiple lakes around the world? By looking at the role that lakes play in our global environment. And so we started another activity called GLEON, Global Lake Ecological Observatory Network, that pooled together people, data from various lakes around the world. Pragma's role then, in addition to doing this first experiment with wireless networks, was to bring together computer scientists and ecologists to look at problems of interest to the ecologist and how to run those models, this is general lake model, on distributed computing using virtual networking software. And with that, we actually were able to, if you will, refine the model in such a way to make it quite useful with inputs from that lower graph, which is sort of effluent into the lake as an independent variable, along with surface temperature as an independent variable. We were able to predict with the model dissolved oxygen at various depths. Why is this important? It turns out that many fish that like cold water tend to stay at the bottom of lakes. Yet what this predicted and was verified by real life examples is that there's a dead zone of oxygen at the bottom of the lake under certain conditions, and the fish can't live. And this was a verification of the model. GLEON also was very active in getting students very much involved in a lot of the projects that it did, something I'll come back to in a little bit. GLEON's still going on. This is a pretty amazing group of people that Pragma helped to develop. The Washington Post back in about a month ago talked about Earth's lakes that were warming at a feverish pace. And this had a lot of information from GLEON that helped put this together. And the graph on the right-hand side of the screen really shows the increase in the number of lakes that had gone from that the percentage of lakes that used to have ice that no longer have ice. So this is a big success for GLEON. So in addition, going back to Pragma now, in addition to getting resources together, to doing science for scientists, and creating new environments, we create new organizations. GLEON was one. Centra is another one that really focused on how to, on a different set of issues, some of which were smart cities. And another example is the training workshop that NCHC in Taiwan has put on, SEAIP, the Southeast Asia International Joint Research and Training Program. And that was really an important stepping stone. Just earlier this week, they had the 18th in a series of these workshops, annual workshops. The first one started in 2005. And what that did for Pragma, NCHC is a Pragma member, it helped us reach a new set of people to bring in new ideas. And one of the people in 2010, and I couldn't attend, but Fang Pan Lin, who organizes this, said, Peter, you need to meet Haru Suhartanto. And we talked on the phone afterwards about that and figured out how to get him to a meeting and how to create new communities. So we had our first workshop, a mini workshop in 2013, hosted by the University of Indonesia and Haru. And you can see Haru in the picture, I think in the upper left-hand corner in the second row. But you can see Umi as well, right in the middle of the picture that was there, who had been one of the people to greet us at the airport when we came this first time. And we focused both on computer science, but also on biodiversity, which was interest to another university nearby. And from there, in 2015, Haru invited us all back, not for a mini workshop, but for an entire workshop. And one of the reasons we rotate locations of workshops is that way we get to meet more people and more people get to meet Pragma to understand better what we do and how they can get involved. But at this workshop, we actually had a special session that Haru helped organize concerns on and produced a series of papers in concurrency and computation for practice and experience. One of which was the paper that had to do with this experimental network testbed led by Kohei. So this was, you can see that networks create new networks. Pragma created SEIP that led us to Haru, that led us to a series of workshops that produce publications that hopefully make more people aware of what we do. Another example for new ideas is getting students involved. PRIME is a program that was organized at the University of California, San Diego, that sent students to Pragma sites to do research. Both Osaka and Monash University, later Queensland University, developed programs that had slightly different ideas, but they all involved sending students to other places in Pragma. And I think it's important to realize that even though these were often undergraduate students, they can produce results that are very, very important. One, this student, Jesus Rios, was mentored by Jason Haga, someone you're going to hear more about later, to create a small application that was actually installed in the Balboa Park in San Diego for people to find different places in the park with their cell phones and get little hints about where to look and information online. And this actually won an award from museums. So this was an undergraduate student that created something by his internship abroad. In Pragma itself, we actually organized later on a student group that gave students the opportunity to present ideas, present posters, and really organize themselves. And this is very much based on the model that we had from Glion, motivated by the Glion example. So giving students opportunities in front of their peers and other experts in the area to really talk about what they were doing. And I want to just to give a shout out to the other people that helped organize this, both Jason Haga and Nan, who will be hearing later today, have been very much involved with the student efforts. Jason's been involved with mentoring students for as long as I've known him, since 2004. And Boom has been very, very involved in getting students. And I think he's got a whole session on that maybe tomorrow. He'll talk about, and I know Kohei Ishikawa has been a great mentor also in the PRIME program. So let me pause a little bit here and just sort of reflect a little bit. How do we make this happen? How did we get people to work together to both share resources, ideas, and so on? It's a story very similar to this sort of fairy tale called Stone Soup, where no one had a lot of information, had a lot to share, but everyone had a little bit. And by pooling the resources, all of the poor individuals in this town where these French soldiers came upon were able to pool the resources of a carrot here, a potato there, something else, to create a soup that everyone could benefit from. And I think it's a real notion that in Pragma, everyone contributes something, whether it's hosting a meeting, whether it's sharing resources, whether it's hosting a student, and everyone benefits in different ways by having access to a larger set of resources, by getting access to students. And it's this notion of being able to give and to benefit from that giving that really has helped us move forward, because there's no central funding for what we do. Everyone brings their own funding. So let me switch gears a little bit and go back to the question I asked earlier in this presentation. So what are some of those skills that you need beyond the technical skills? One is communicating. It's very, very important if you think about working in a group, being able to share your ideas. And sharing your ideas is not just talking about things, but it's listening to others and understanding them. Next is really building trust between people, following through on the commitments. That's how we got things done in Pragma. Another is certainly valuing different approaches, because there's more than one way to tackle a problem, and understanding multiple cultures. So how do you develop these skills, and why do you want to do so? Well, I'm a very strong believer in experiential learning. That, and some of you may know this quote, don't tell me how educated you are, tell me how much you've traveled, because traveling exposes you to experiences that allow you to use all of your senses to really understand what you're doing. You can think of every culture that you run into as a different experiment on organization, how we do that. There's no one right way. There are many ways to do that. And by understanding these many differences, it's very, very important in getting people to work together. And so one of the things that really has affected my entire career is an undergraduate study abroad program I did when I many, many years ago. It was uncomfortable, that traveling, but it really opened new worlds for me. And this is one of the things I think is very, very important, that anyone gets a chance to travel should. And so please do that. And if you get an opportunity to do an internship in another country, take it. It will be valuable for you. So, and what do you gain by these soft skills? Well, you gain a network of people that help you move through your career. You're able to better explain what you're doing for society. This is very, very important in a funding environment. That's just requires you to think, really, what does I do for society? And to address larger and more important problems in our world. And we have many of those, and it helps you go farther as well. And so the take-home message really from this part is, always remember, learning is lifelong. You need the technical skills that you'll learn today, but take advantages of opportunities to augment those technical skills with the ability to communicate, to better understand, to explain, to understand different cultures. That will be very important for your careers going forward. So Pragma's success ingredients really was a vision that addressed opportunities and needs. We had a plan to start and a process to involve. We had expertise to further those opportunities, and people interested in learning, contributing, and benefiting, as I said. And we had a framework to allow people to participate. And these required the soft skills. And I think it's very important to remember those soft skills, in addition to the technical skills, were really important to make Pragma work. We went further than I ever dreamed of. When I first started, we thought we had 3 workshops. We didn't know where we'd go from there. Now we've had 37. We would have had 38, 39 if it had not been for the pandemic. And we've built a resilient community, people that have taken up this to invite us to continue working together, which I'm very, very proud of. So let me thank you again for the invitation to talk to you, and congratulations on getting this workshop set up so quickly. Certainly thanks to the University of Yarsi for hosting this. All of the Pragma leads that have helped, I guess, help the organizers here, the government of Indonesia and the university for helping support this activity. And all of you that are listening and all of you that are attending and learning about the technical skills that are going to be so important in and especially in this area of machine learning and artificial intelligence. These are important areas for the future that have significant societal impact. So I applaud the efforts of the workshop organizers and the students, and I really wish you a great deal of luck. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very interesting, and I think very broaden our view. I write down some point that I think it's very essential for us and also for our students, that in achieving something big, we need to do together. If you want to go far, you go together. Together with people from different subjects, we could solve many problems that, as Peter mentions, of many project and research Pragma community have achieved. Successful collaboration, contribution for successful collaboration. The key of successful collaboration is contribution, benefits, and much more. And with joining this kind of meeting and interaction with people from all over the world, we can mastering our soft skill. Thank you, Peter. And we move to the second keynote from Prof. Heru, and we will have a question and answer later after Prof. Heru session. Pak Slamet, can you help me to? Yeah, thank you, Pak Slamet. Prof. Heru is a professor at the Fasilkom or Computer Science Faculty, Universitas Indonesia since 2008. He used to be Vice Dean for General Affairs of Fasilkom for 2 periods. And Prof. Heru, from 2040 to 2070, Prof. Heru is honorary professor in School of ITEE, University of Queensland, and after that, till 2019, Prof. Heru is a young professor. And Prof. Heru research interest is cloud, grid, and high performance computing. He is also a review member of many journals. And one interesting question, favorite Prof. Heru favorite quotation here. O mankind, we have created you from a male and female, a male and a female, and made you into nations and tribes, that you may know one another. Verify, the most honorable of you with God is who is most obedient to God. Verify, God is all knowing, all aware. This is from please, Prof. Heru, time is yours for 20 minutes also.
Okay, thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good morning and good evening for Peter, and also good afternoon for our colleague in Japan, Jason, Jorge, and some of our other friends also. So let me share our my screen. Okay. Can you see this one? I would like to make it in.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that one. So first of all, I was surprised when about 2 days ago, Umi and Bu Sri invite me to give a talk in the middle of my business activity. So I do not know what I should talk about. And then after 2 days ago, and maybe about last night, I just got an idea how to write, what to write. And then she just said that about Indonesian participation in Pragma, and also about the Indonesian condition, and maybe in the future condition of Indonesia, maybe for Indonesian researcher to do some collaboration with other community. So I start from doing this one because when I did my PhD, I was working on a supercomputer at that time, but at that time it's only about 8 core or 8 CPU at that time, which is not good compared to the condition right on the today's condition. At that time, I developed a parallel computer method for solving ordinary differential equation, which is the mathematical model for solving any application. So in this case, I think it is important to have a good computer infrastructure. We cannot do the computation and process the big data relying only on laptops on ordinary desktop. So basically, we have some model. So that's why we need a supercomputer to solve our big problem. So this is one of the definition of that you can look at that basically we should aggregate the power of computer, either the collection from other computer into the one. And then when I return my study from Australia, we don't have a supercomputer at that time. We only have some PCs, and then we try to develop it and try to mimic the idea of computer by clustering some pieces and then build it into my labs. I still remember it's about 2000. I returned to University of Indonesia and Depok, Jakarta, and I start to develop a training program. I try to teach parallel computing, but by using cluster, and try to supervise some of my students. Basically, I try to promote that we need to have a good computing infrastructure in solving a big problem and a big data. And then this one example, if you look at this is one example of application from our colleagues, basically from our pharmacy department, which is we call it molecular docking. So that means when we have a disease and we try to kill the disease, that means the element or the element of disease should be locked so that it cannot be grow. It cannot be grow. So that you need this kind of movement. We call this one as the molecular docking. So in order to obtain this kind of object, we need a good and long simulation. So then we cannot do it in ordinary computer. And the next one. This is the example of why we need a good infrastructure. If you look at our target is to have an object on rightmost, that one. So that means we need the computation in about 90 nanoseconds. If you look at international, the common experiment or the common simulation should be done in about 90 nanoseconds. You can see that in order to have this good picture or this model, you need to compute through some simulation. If you are only using one CPU, it takes more than 3,000 days. But if you are using 32 computer, it still take about more than 100 days. So that means a good infrastructure is needed in this simulation and this problem. And this is another example for paracomputing. Try to detect a tumor in one's body. And then we are this is a very multidisciplinary area where there is a collaboration between people from the medicine and people from the physics and people from mathematical and people in computer science. And you can see that if you only use a CPU or the CPU, it takes about 5 days to do the simulation and try to detect the location of the tumor in the body. But if you are using GPU, it takes about only about 6 hours, which is a great achievement. So that means we can serve more people and serve better people in our society. This is if you're talking about coronavirus in about almost 2 years ago, you can see that there is a relation between SARS-CoV in 2002 and MERS-CoV in 2012 and COVID-19 in 2019. And then how we can establish this relation we cannot do it by hand. We cannot do it in a lab only, but we can do it in. This is done by our colleague in South Korea, which is in. I think this is part of the Pragma workshop, if I'm not mistaken, Peter. Yeah, about last year, he mentioned that he can look at the idea and study the correlation between the current COVID-19 with the previous SARS-CoV in 2002. He used a supercomputer in his country and his university. You can see that even if you would like to develop the therapeutic and vaccine, we also need to do some computation before we jump up into a lab and also the testing with real object or testing with human. But we do that before that. We need to do some digital processing. This is how many people in the world try to fight the COVID-19. So that been particularly in United States, there is a consortium from federal government interest in academic to provide access to the world's most powerful supercomputer. So until that time, when I look at the paper, it has about more than 40 consortium member, and then it takes about it used about more than 145,000 nodes, and then there are more than 80 projects, and then concerning about the CPU core use, it's more than 6 million CPU core, and then if you are talking about the GPU use, it's more than 50,000 GPU, and then in terms of the floating point operation, it is more than about 600 peta, and then the project example, for example, it also targeting the COVID-19 therapeutics and also identifying antiviral from natural product targeting SARS-19. I think this should be also important for Indonesia if we are trying to develop our own therapeutic and then develop our own vaccine, also develop our own antivirals. And also this is conducted also by, if you look at this one is also done in our in the society. Look at, this is the one who is part in the consortium. You can see that there's a big company over there from IBM, AMD, Intel, NVIDIA, also some university, and then at the bottom there are many people, many institutions in Europe, like in the France, German, and Italy, Spain, and Switzerland. They try to make a consortium and then to support the research of fighting the COVID-19. So that means there is a collaboration, there is a good infrastructure that need to be carried together in order to solve a big problem. And then this is another example, possible target of drugs. Also, this one is done, predicted by our colleague from South Korea. It said that there is some possible target like camostapil and then abidol. And this is the name which is familiar. We might be familiar with this name. I think this is the result of this some computational process which is done by many people. One of this is done by our colleague Xiu in 2020 in South Korea, and it has appeared in a journal in 2002 in JAMA journal over there. You can check this article. That's been high performance computer is also very helpful in solving a real problem like COVID-19 that we face today. And then I'll try to look at is there any relation between the maturity of nation and the HPC infrastructure. I do not know the real answer, but I try to look at this website, which is the top 500 ORG, which is the sets, the top. The sets also ranked and detailed the 500 most powerful computer in the world. They try to look at and then you can see that when I write this report and I look at the data in last year. So the number one is still supercomputer Fugaku from Japan at that one. Maybe current, if you would like to see the condition of today, maybe you can visit this website. But you can see that the number of core is more than 7 million core, and then look at the peaks performance is more than 500,000 teraflops, and then but you look at the electricity required is more than 20,000 kilowatt. That's been 20,000 million watts. You can see that this is a very, very, electricity supply required very good capacity. That means if we do not have electricity supply, that means we cannot have a good computer infrastructure. You can also the in number 500. You can see this is how Huawei. Okay, this is located in Canada. You can see also it has about more than 40,000 core, and then also the power of that is needed for in this computer is more than 500,000 watt. Yeah, more than 500,000 watt. That means this one is not suitable in our society, but there is a good development that is happening currently. I would like to report it maybe in the future. I mean, in the next few slide. You can see this is the country system that has. You can see that from China, United States, and France. You can see that most of these countries are the industrial country, and most of them usually leading in fighting the COVID-19. You can see that some vaccine has been founded by the researchers, like in China, United States, also in German, and also maybe some other country. They could also find the vaccine. And you can see that what is the application area. You can see that most are research, and then also the benchmarking and the semiconductor. You can see like aerospace and weather and climate research also is very important. And so should be done, which is ideally done in a good infrastructure. And then we look at the segment of the system itself, from industry research, even in government, they use this infrastructure to solve to support their daily needs and maybe their problem, to solve their problem. This is, but try to look at in Indonesia. I try to do some short survey in last year. You can in number one, and the number one is about more than 7 million. But at that time, in Indonesia, there is only about 250 cores, which is we are left behind. We are still left behind. Again, so that means Indonesia have a challenge, problem. If you look at, try to look at the size of our country, it is almost as big as United States, but we are more complicated because we are consisting of thousands of islands. We also have a huge natural resources like plants, including medical plants and marine plants, which is some of them are suitable, some of them maybe candidate for a new drug, which is studied by our colleague. One of them is Professor Ari Yanuar from Pharmacy Faculty of University Indonesia. And then we have more than 250 million people. You can consider that we are talking about health data and maybe some other data. All of them lead to a big data challenge. But in order to solve this one, we try to look at the country capacity. Can we do it in looking at the country capacity? But if we cannot do it, that means we should do collaborating with strong friends in this one. So Indonesia cannot be alone. So that's why I was introduced to Pragma. I think as far as I can remember, in 2010 I visited SIP's workshop in Taiwan, invited by Fang Fang. And during the video conference, I was introduced to Peter, and then we talked directly to in the conference visual audio, like at that time. And then we promised to meet directly in one of the Pragma community. And then after that, in about 1 year, we meet directly with Peter and our other colleague from Pragma. And then you can see that you look at the Pragma website, most of the member institutions are major in cloud and high performance computing. And also they have some a good experiment in solving a problem in various applications. Something like maybe in smart agriculture, smart cities, and also artificial intelligence that currently is one of the buzzword that is a popular word frequently spoke by Indonesian government. and then also conducting workshop at least twice a year prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I believe in the near future, Pragma will still holding a seminar, even though it's not like before. Maybe it's like combination, considering like maybe we have something like a short meeting in a few months, once every a few months, and then from meeting with our colleagues in Pragma, there is opportunity to do some collaboration. Look at previous Pragma workshop. Try to look at the Pragma workshop. I think this one is available in Pragma website. You can download the report. I think you can download the report. There is some interesting news over there, some news interesting collaboration, and then some more information about how and then who that you can collaborate with among the Pragma communities member. And then you can see this is my first attendance in Pragma community. I think it's not, if I'm not mistaken, in 2011 at Hong Kong University. So I met with Cindy, that one. Cindy, I attended with my colleagues Arya Noir and our Pragma. Maybe this is one from Hong Kong and from Thailand. Okay. And then this is just look at the first Pragma workshop is conducted by University Indonesia, as also mentioned by Peter. So, but before that, we also have a small workshop, small workshop in 2013. Before we have the real big Pragma workshop. And actually, this year and maybe last year, CRC is challenged to have the workshop, but unfortunately, we have the pandemic that we have to delay it maybe in the future, in the near future. And then this is the Indonesian current condition. Look at the national level. We call what we call has Indonesian facing in 2045. The government try to look at the artificial intelligence kecerdasan buatan. For it is the artificial, which is the words for it, artificial intelligence. We have 5 priority over there. The first one is the layanan kesehatan or the health services, and then the reformation bureaucracy and reformation, and then the education and research of there, and then about the food supply. We need to have a good food supply over there. And then also the era is in mobility and smart cities. Okay. And then we have also tried to improve the infrastructure and try to to organize or to manage the data. And then also we try to develop the talents, do some training and some education in AI and high performance computing. And then in terms of the coordination, the head of Technology Assessment Application Agency, they have the degree in 2020. They have the team to organize an innovation center on artificial intelligence. We call this one the PICA, which is Pusat Inovasi Kecerdasan Artificial, which is the organization, Innovation Center and Artificial, the executing team. They have the executing team, and this executing, it has the steering and coaching team, and also it has coordinator team, and it has creative team, and then there is also some working group on some several subject, like CORICA. CORICA is the Core-Based Research and Innovation Industry, which is industry and innovation and research collaboration on AI. So they also focus on the national policies, and then they try to look at the ethics and talent, and try to improve the infrastructure, and try to manage the data set, and then do some innovation and try to solve a real problem. And then in terms of our own university, we also got the fund from the government, and then we intend to develop AI Center of Excellence, one of the programs to improve the infrastructure, particularly on the HPC, and also to improve the network quality from 1 giga into 10 giga links, and then also conduct workshop and training on HP and AI for a wide community. But if you look at the national services like DIKTI is the higher education, which is the one of the director in Ministry of Education and Culture. And then it has a Center of Excellence for Education, AI Supercomputing Facility. They starting this year, okay, they provide some grant to improve the computing infrastructure in some of the university that they think they can develop and manage the infrastructure, also develop the program for educating and also develop the talent for Indonesia on AI. And this is their mission is to enhance education AI capability in the country to ensure it will give big value add for competitors of the country. That means which is a good good sign. Hopefully this one will be maintained in the future. Not only disappearing in the near future. Hopefully it will continue in the future. You can see that they try to offer the needs, the usage of DPU in the AI center. They try to prepare the program in December 2021. Is this month again, and then they have acquired this National Center Excellent exposure. They have the sharing. That means they can anybody who needs the computing infrastructure, they can use it in one of the university that has the facility. And then also they will have what they call as national AI startup competition. They also have a hackathon bootcamp AI for academics. And this is the number of computer that's owned by colleagues. You can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ya kan? Mostly they use DGX and DGX 100 from NVIDIA. UTP Indonesia they have two the DGX and also the DGX 100 and DGX1 over there. And also that means I think this one is so can be used for by other university and academics and other university lecturer and other university student. They can use it this facility for free, I think. But the question is how we access it, how we access it. And in total, also DICTI will provide another 5 DGX A100, but we do not know where it's going to be put this infrastructure. And then this is you look at the core of the specification. If you're talking about DX1 is it has about 8 GPU, but you can see that it has about more 1 GPU. It has more than 5,000 tensor core over there, and then also if you look at the size of the system, it has 32 giga over there. And then on the right hand side, the spec of the NVIDIA DGX A100. If you are talking about the 32 gigabit, the GPU itself, the memory is 320 GPU. You can see that this type of GPU can be used for many people at the same time. But if you are talking this one, only we are talking this one, they can only execute one simulation and one code executed in one GPU. But this one, on the right hand side, we can share some part of GPU with other users. So that means many people can use it at the same time. What is the UI contribution? Before we had the national, the government has this one, but before that, long before that, we do some research collaboration with our partner, Professor Ari Yanuar, and then we try to do the build the computing prototype for accessing and to help our colleague to manage the simulation. The one of the target is try to give the ease access of the infrastructure, and then try to get the result as soon as possible without having managing the hardware directly by our user. So that means let the cloud do this one, and then we will provide the service in the cloud. This is that we propose, and then we have conducted some surprise experiment. At that time, we have 2 GPU pool, and then we have some several cluster pool, and then we try to build a portal and then let the user access the facility from the website, and then they can just submit all the data and do some simulation on specific software, and then let it run either in one of these. Let the control or the manager will submit the job in one of these, not too crowded, yeah, too crowded. And also either in a cluster, also either in GPU. We preset this one in Pragma 30 in Brisbane. We have presented also, and also we have some testing also for the testing in 2019. So we have the testing. We try to connect whether our integrator can be connected with outside infrastructure. So we connected with Amazon computing facility at that time. So we in 1 week, okay, with 1 week we subscribe some cluster and subclass some GPU, and then let our colleagues in ITB and Unpad use the integrator, and they submit their job and do some molecular dynamics, and then get the result directly. And then from their experiment, they provide a good, I mean, with it sangat puas, that means very satisfaction, ya kan? They are very happy with this finding. I think this one, it could be a good integrator if we try to integrate all of the Indonesian that one. We have many infrastructure, and I think it should be can be nice if we can put it together as one services that we have do it in 2015, 2017. I think this one is just like Exit that is currently available in United States. Okay. You can see that there are many infrastructure available in various universities that can be accessed by the people in United States. And then I think that's it. That's in the near future, there are more works, either research, teaching, workshop, collaboration online, and HPT from Indonesian community and people. I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Heru. Here, Prof. Heru emphasized again the need of collaboration from multi-knowledge view to solve problems in society. To be able to face nation problems, Indonesia cannot be alone. Yeah, I hope our students, especially from Indonesia today, can understand it and be aware that we have to start to trying to collaborate and start to maybe joining any international event to be able to collaborate with other people from all of the world. And Prof. Heru also mentioned many updates of high performance computing in Indonesia, and for sure that will be beneficial in supporting AI research. Thank you again, Prof. Heru, and we have some times for question and answer. Maybe any question from the participant here for Peter and Heru, please. Yes, Prof. Fasli.
Yeah, I would like to ask Peter and Prof. Heru, yeah. Giving our independent campus program by our minister, how likely that we have basic computing course that can be taken by any student from different study program as part of the spending 20 credit semester outside your program study program. How likely that do we need within the university or inter-university to do that? Thank you.
Maybe Peter, you can share your idea first.
I'm trying to grasp the question. So, and I'm not as familiar with the Indonesian system, but maybe to rephrase the question, you were asking about.
Right now, the minister actually requested all university to facilitate students that need to study at maximum 20 credit semester outside of their study program, which is not usual before. Because in Indonesia, our study program is so silo. You can only study everything offered by your study program.
Right.
But now, because of the generic nature of this computing or big data, how likely that we offer a kind of basic course that can be taken by all students, interested students from many other study program, and where can we put that as a model?
So I can I may this may be a homework assignment for me, but what I know that in the field of data science in the United States, there are a number of different models for how different disciplines are interacting, learning about the data science. So this is just as a model. And there are, I think at least two different approaches. One is to try to have, a centralized approach that people, maybe in computer science everyone would take one of those courses. The other is to maybe farm it out, namely have some joint appointments. So whether it's in agriculture, whether it's in medicine, whether it's in biology, and develop the curriculum that way. So it's tailored, more to the specific interests of the students. So I agree with the overall premise that almost everything now, almost every student needs to understand some basics of data science. I guess the question is, what's the implementation? What's a good implementation of that?
Right.
The desired outcome to do that, whether it's a centralized approach or whether it is a very distributed approach. As I said, there are several major universities, like the University of California, Berkeley has one approach. I think Stanford has a slightly different approach, and those would be sort of models to look at. I am not directly involved in any of those activities, so I haven't had to think deeply about those things.
Prof. Heru, maybe you have some thought.
Okay, just an idea, because I also involved in developing MOOCs modules. Okay, MOOCs module in UI program, because in last term, since September 19, I was assigned by the dean of my faculty to promote one of my course, and then should be available for any Indonesian student work at any place. And then we develop the module. After that, it can be taken by any people at any time, but according to their capacity. After that, if you are try to connecting with your question, I think, let's say Yasi would like to have one semester of the student able to do some research on AI on the health. Okay, that means they require computing, like high performance computing, also require the competence of the knowledge of data science. I think one of the MOOC that we develop, it will be available at any time, so that the student can take that MOOCs, okay, let's say in data science, and also the student can take the parallel programming MOOCs or module in the in our website, and then they can also do some simulation and experiment and computation in one of the resources that is available provided by DT. Okay, that one. Let's say if you are talking about 4 months, maybe the first 2 months, okay, 1 month is for taking the MOOCs in UI, maybe in high performance computing, and 1 month in data science, and another 2 months will be solving the health data on AI problem. I think that can be done in one semester without ERC posting the lecture by itself. Okay, you can take the module from anywhere and then try to request the computing power in either UI or ETB or UGM and or maybe in other places. I think that's a good sense.
Thank you.
But if you are trying to, I mean, to collaborate with UI, you are most welcome.
Yeah, we will do that. Yeah, thank you, Prof. Heru.
Thank you, Prof. Fasli, Peter, and Prof. Heru. I think the time is up for the session of keynote session today. Once again, thank you, Peter and Prof. Heru. Maybe the discussion today is not in AI, but it's more fundamental for all our students about the collaboration, about soft skill, and etc. Thank you again, and the session I will let Pak Fatur again. Thank you. Oh, Prof. Fasli, you
have... just clapping the hand. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Appreciating our resource, the keynote speakers. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Fasli. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Prof. Heru. Pak Fatur.
You're welcome.
Thank you too.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kusri, for that.
So what time is in your place, Peter?
Oh, in my place, it's just 12 hours ahead. So, or actually, no, I'm sorry, it's 12 hours behind.
Time to go.
Sorry, Peter. It's time. It's time for rest.
Hopefully, next year we can have another workshop in.
Yes, because time zone is the problem for us.
So we can travel maybe some.
or we do it in the evening so Peter can join in daytime. Yeah.
Better yet would be that we all fly to someplace. Maybe we all go to Indonesia. So
okay, good.
I would still have jet lag, but then I would be with you all.
Okay, thank you.
But the challenge for Yasi is still going on, Peter. Yeah, we are waiting for Yasi to hold the Pragma workshop directly.
Yes,
we'll be happy to do that. Just tell us when we'll be ready. Yeah, after the COVID.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And I'm actually very surprised. I'm very pleasantly surprised you have more than 150 participants.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
That's great.
Actually, the registered participants is more than 200. But I don't know. Maybe some of students still have a class, maybe, and they will join us in the workshop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully, Pragma can create like Coursera or something like that, Prof. Heru and Peter, so student can join and get credit. Maybe.
Yes, as I mentioned before, we developed the module provided in Universitas Indonesia website.
Yeah.
You can take it anytime.
Yeah.
Okay. You can take it anytime. We can discuss it later maybe.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Professor Heru Sartanto. Thank you, Peter, for your present today. And we will we'll move to the next agenda. And before we move, I would like to remind that we have the evaluation form from the keynote speaker. So we hope that all the participants can fill it. I just put the evaluation form at the Zoom chat. You can see. Okay, and we are in the student workshop session. We have two break rooms. The first room number 1, will talk about the scalable amplified group environment, or SAGE2, delivered by Jason Haga. Then after a short break, we will continue to the other workshops, namely research presentation techniques, delivered by Kohei Ishikawa-san. And this room will have Wasapun Watanaki Sunthorn or Boom as the session chair. And the other rooms, break room number 2, there are 2 series of workshops that talk about the data visualization and machine learning. And this workshop will be delivered by Muhammad Tatraman. Actually, it's me and Chandra Prasetyo Utomo. And we have Tem will be the session chair of this workshop. And I hope you will enjoy the workshop today.
Yes, maybe Prof. Asli, Prof. Heru, and Peter can leave, Pak Fatur, or join the breakout.
I may leave if I may.
Okay.
But I joined somewhere.
Thank you, Prof. Heru. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Prof. Asli.
Thank you, Mami.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Maybe I'll see you
very much.
tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you again for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you
Okay.
so much.
Okay.
Good to see everyone too.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Bye-bye.
Makasih ya, Prof.
Okay, you're welcome. Terima kasih.
Okay, by the way,